Hey everyone, this is Derrick, or if you've been watching lately, it's Derrick Broze, the former mayoral candidate, now suing the state of Texas. And today's video is all about my attempt at running for mayor once again here in Houston, the aftermath of me being kicked off the ballot, and then what happened yesterday. Today is Wednesday, November 8th. Yesterday was November 7th, election day here in Houston and Texas, and really around the United States and a few other places. And I wanted to do a video now that it's officially over to tell you guys what happened and do a little bit of a reflection on, was it worth it? And just all the challenges that I've faced, both on the ground trying to do this campaign, but also just in terms of communicating about the importance of this campaign and what it meant to me, to my audience, you guys, because, it's kind of hard to talk about running for mayor or the importance of getting people to vote for a local initiative like I did, Proposition A, when I've spent the last decade cultivating an audience of anarchists, voluntarists, agorists, exit and builders, and generally people who don't have much faith or hope in the system. And yeah, it's been a challenge overall. So I want to talk about all of that and more. First off, though, I do want to invite you guys to check out my website, derrickbroze.com. A little different today. We're not going to promote theconsciousresistance.com. You guys know all of my contents at theconsciousresistance.com. But since we're focused on my mayoral campaign, the lawsuit, I want to highlight that derrickbroze.com, which is just my website, my history. You can read my super long bio there. It was my mayoral campaign website. You can see there's still some remnants of that. I'm going to be changing this in the coming week or so and just getting it back to look like my typical website. But the reason I mention this is because if you bookmark derrickbroze.com, you keep up with our blog page, which isn't going to change, you can see all of the latest news and information specifically related to my lawsuit. This is where I'm going to be updating people about my lawsuit and everything that took place, or that will be coming up and taking place in my effort to defeat the state of Texas. But before we get into all that, let's take a step back. Let's go ahead and just start off with the most immediate news, which was, again, yesterday was the election here in Houston. So I'm going to show you guys the Houston Chronicle. This is Houston Chronicle 2023 Texas live election results. The results are still kind of coming in. I don't think it's been fully counted yet, but it's, we know where it's at now. And of course, I was kicked off the mayor's race. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. I was rejected from the ballot because of my nonviolent felony, and that's why I'm suing the state of Texas. And nevertheless, we continued to campaign. We continued to show up. I've got to know a lot of the mayoral candidates, and I think there would have been a couple of good ones if they had got in there. Unfortunately, in Houston and really a lot of places, voter turnout is so low that there was no clear winner. You have to win 51% of the vote, basically, and nobody reached 51%. So there is going to be a runoff in the mayoral race against the two career politicians who have a combined 80 years worth of political experience. And depending on your view, that's either a good or a bad thing. In my view, it means that they have the potential to be corrupted, and I think probably already are corrupted, but that's a whole nother conversation. So once I was kicked out of the race, though, we decided we were going to focus on promoting Proposition A. And I talked about this, I've talked about it, but for those who haven't heard, this is a change in Houston city government, and it would allow 3 council members to add items to the weekly city council agenda. And what that means is if you were to call into your council members, which you would probably believe, like most people, oh, I have a council member somewhere that represents the area I live in, the city I live. And if I ever have issues, I have to call their office and say, hey, I'm with, I live in your district and I have a problem with this thing and you're my council member, so I thought I'd express it to you. And then you would expect they would take that issue, whatever you shared with them, go to city council and say, hey, my people are bringing this topic up. I'd like to put this on the agenda so we can have a discussion. Maybe resolutions are introduced, votes are taken, all that stuff that people expect is supposed to, happen when it comes to quote unquote good government, if there is such a thing. But in fact, that is not what happens in Houston, because Houston is set up in a way that the mayor is the only person who can put things on the weekly agenda. And that means that even if all the people of Houston called all 16 council members and said, we are so concerned about this topic or that topic or that topic, if the mayor, he or she, doesn't want to hear about it, it goes nowhere. It doesn't get put on the agenda, which means if you show up to speak, you're a non-agenda item, so you're going to wait 2 or 3 hours to speak all the way at the end, and by that point, nobody's listening, nobody's even there, half the council's gone, the mayor's gone. So the benefit of being on the agenda is not just a simple thing. It means that you will actually be heard. Your voices will be heard. And again, the big thing, it would mean that you could actually try to vote on things or get things passed, or not necessarily even passed, maybe stop bad things as well. Well, Houstonians had a chance to do that this year with what is called Proposition A. With this Proposition A, again, would allow 3 council members to add items to the agenda, and I'm happy to report, let me just scroll down here and show you guys. You can see here's the mayor race. John Whitmire, Sheila Jackson Lee, 42% and 35%. So neither one of them able to clinch an all-out victory. Only 107,000 votes for John Whitmire, which is not that much in a city as big as Houston, especially when this guy spent like $10 million. So, you know, you do the math on how much he spent per vote with $10 million. But then let's go down here to Proposition A. Let me see, did I pass it up? Did I pass it up? Okay, local ballot initiatives. City of Houston, Proposition A, right here. 193,000 votes cast in favor of passing Proposition A, 83%. For some reason, 39,000 people thought it was a bad idea, but still, nevertheless, in a democracy, they're forced to go along with it. So for better or worse, Houston now has passed Proposition A. This means starting January 1st of 2024, Houstonians don't have to just suffer under the consequences of whoever the next mayor is going to be. They can actually try to get things done. They can lobby their council members and actually try to stop bad things and defend liberty. And in my case, we're going to use it to try to get rid of fluoride once again, because I was a part of a group. I helped found a group called the Fluoride Free Houston, and 10 years ago, back in 2012, 13, 14, 15 maybe, we were active for a few years. We were going to city council. We had people on our side, dentists, coming to speak even in favor of saying, hey, I don't think fluoride is necessary. And the American Dental Association sent out some of their representatives and basically told the council we were crazy and this and that. But we had about 4 council members willing to listen to us and willing to sit down and have meetings and talk with us. Nevertheless, no matter what we did, they ultimately said, sorry guys, our hands are tied. And as I've been saying, they made it clear, we can't do anything. We can't add anything to the agenda. So although I support you, although I'm with you on this issue, we can't do anything. And nevertheless, we wish you luck. And that was kind of like where it ended. That was basically the end of attempting to get rid of fluoride in Houston, at least for my part. I don't think anybody else has even bothered. And it was because we realized, like, wow, so we can keep going to council, keep trying to talk to the mayor, keep sending the council members information, and it's not going to make a difference. Well, here we are a decade later, and Proposition A actually gives them that power. So yes, I did encourage people on the local level to vote for this. Yes, I did encourage people to vote in a rigged, broken system on the local level. And I did so knowing that it's not going to bring down the New World Order or stop Agenda 2030. Well, it could in the long term, but this first immediate vote isn't going to, right? And, I actually have a video that I'm probably going to do later called something like Derrick Broze versus Derrick Broze on voting, mixing my old videos of me talking about why you shouldn't vote and some of the things I feel now. I don't think my views have really changed that much. I've always told anybody who would listen, if you're going to get involved in the system, political system, focus locally. Don't run for president, don't run for state, whatever. Run for your local town council, your city council, your school board, commissioners. Like, I still feel strongly about that. I've been saying that for years, and Houston is where I'm from. Even though I live in Morelia and I have land out there now, this is still where my family and remaining friends are, and I do care about what happens in this city. It's the 4th largest city in the country. If we stop smart cities here, if we stop Agenda 2030, if we get fluoride out of the water or whatever other things we do with Prop A and beyond, that's going to send a message. That's going to make it easier for some of you who live in smaller cities to try to do the same thing. You could say, look what they did in Houston, and use us as an example, right? Well, now we have a tool to do that. So this isn't a perfectly anarchist solution. It involved me having to, I did go vote. I voted yesterday. I even got one of the stupid I voted stickers. I'm not going to wear the damn thing, of course, but it's silly. I still recognize all the BS. It's not like all of a sudden I've fallen, oh my God, the system is great and we all need to fix things from within. No, guys. So for those of you who maybe been following along and maybe not even following along, just every time you see me post a video about the mayor's race, maybe you groan or you don't even bother watching. Well, I hope you're tuning back in, because we're getting back to regularly scheduled program. Not that I ever stopped putting out content. I mean, that's the thing, is even though I'm running for mayor and doing all these things, I've continued to put out episodes of the Pyramid of Power, continued to put out interviews and other important content that I think is valuable. But I know some of you feel strongly that it's not it just wasn't something you wanted to support, and that's fine. This effort was about people in Houston. So if you live elsewhere and you're an anarchist and I helped turn you into an anarchist and you think I'm crazy for encouraging people to vote on the local level, that's fine. It's over anyways, and that's all well and done. Now that Prop A is in place, we have a plan of how we're going to use it in the future when the budget comes up, and see if we can get them to not renew the contract for fluoride and for other things. If they bring up Agenda 2030 and they try to bring, some like traffic restriction zones or any of that kind of stuff, we now have a mechanism. We have to go to 3 council members. We still got to put in the work, or I'm not going to necessarily be here, but whoever is has a mechanism. They have to put in the work. They have to talk to council members and say, like, look, this is a bad thing. Let me show you why. Please table this. Please add this topic to the agenda so we can bring our people and we can show up in numbers and we can organize and we can get shit done. That's what it's about. So I did put my energy. I came here at a personal cost, and this is not a boo-hoo or anything like, woe is me. I just wanted to share and hopefully to maybe inspire any of you to take action that will lead to things that you think are positive and good for the world and good for yourself, even if that means making so-called sacrifices. So let me just share a little bit about what I've been doing. I came to Houston in January, met with a group of friends, and who overwhelmingly told me they would support me if I ran for mayor again. And I decided to do that. Of course, I talked to Miriam about it, and we had been discussing this even before that. And in February, I came back to Houston and I filed the paperwork to make it official, to get a campaign treasurer. And at the same time, we have an apartment, a house in Mexico, so we're starting to have to transition our life. By April, I was coming back to Texas and living my life here and doing this and going back and forth. And we've still continued to make trips back and forth to Mexico for appointments we have and things we have to maintain, checking on our house there. But I also got an apartment here in Houston throughout the mayor's campaign, and so I could live here and be, a legal resident and all that stuff. So I'm paying $850 a month to live in this small studio apartment for 6 months. It's just a small period that Miriam and I had committed to get this race done, because we knew that whether I was on the ballot for mayor and whether or not I was able to be in the debate stage, that we wanted to get Proposition A passed. We didn't even know what it was called when we first came. We just knew it was a charter amendment. We committed to do this as a couple, as a relationship. We committed to this with our friends out here who we told, I'm going to come here. I told, if you spend money, if you donate money to my campaign, if you invest in me, I'm going to be out there every day. And I haven't counted them, but I guarantee you we went to probably 100 different events in the last 4 months alone, and even events before that, between our very small team of people hitting areas all over Houston, giving out thousands and thousands of flyers and information about my campaign and then about Proposition A. And, we're having to, navigate all that. Miriam's working and I'm doing the campaign and just all the stuff, the logistics that maybe you don't see or think about from the other side of the camera that goes into trying to run this campaign. So, people can think whatever they like about why I did this, or if it was the right move, or if it, whatever. But at the end of the day, I truly did this because, yes, even though I'm an anarchist, and I do believe that the best world that we can create is a world without government, a world without the need for a state, where people can evolve to see that we don't need mommy and daddy taking care of us. But I also recognize we're very far from that place. That doesn't mean I'm giving up on my anarchist principles and I'm going to go become a statist and, just forget about all that. No, I mean, this is part of my life. But I also know that if I'm going to grow the movement of people who might consider these ideas, I need to get beyond the choir and not just preach to the people on BitChute and wherever else who already know what's going on. No, I mean, I want to go to places where there are people in Houston who are active. And again, like I told you, the voter turnout's really low. So, I mean, it's not like the people we're connecting with are people who actually give a shit in their communities. And sure, maybe they want to run for office, for city council or mayor or whatever. But by and large, most of them are just good people who work in their neighborhoods, who work in their communities, maybe in nonprofits or in law or just different areas, or just regular people who decided, I want to go try to serve my community and do this. And even though they might not be on the same page with me about Agenda 2030, or they might not see the big picture of technocracy just yet, they care and they show up and they're active and they're getting involved. And honestly, that's more than most of you. I mean, some of you probably just watch content like mine and just sit at home. And are you engaged in your community at all? Do you go, and I don't even mean politically, I'm not saying politics is the answer, but that's just one example. Do you go to city council or town council? Do you have an activist group, or do you have a freedom cell? Are you guys growing your own food? Are you organizing against bad bills and pushing back against whatever issues you're concerned about? Or are you just sitting at home and obsessing over the international news that you have literally no control over, and then just, oh my God, the world's screwed, black pill, doom, 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 fear porn, whatever, who cares, right? I think that's where a lot of you are. I've met some of you out there, and this is not an attack. I'm just saying, for me, It is 100% worth. I do not regret one moment of coming back to Houston, despite the financial costs, the time, the energy, the frustration of not being on the ballot. Like, that stung. That really fucking stung, to come this far, to be here, and then to not be able to be on the ballot. And so for the last 2 months, I've had to deal with that. But nevertheless, all of that was worth it. It's been worth every single bit. It's been worth every person I got to talk to and every experience I got to have in this process. Again, even knowing that I'm not on the same page as a lot of these people. But I did use the election as a way to put, for example, I put together my own election guide. I sent out a survey to all the candidates, city council and mayor and controller, which is 70-something people, and we got responses from about 10 city council members and a few mayor candidates, asking them what they think about bodily autonomy, informed consent, and whether or not they would support a vaccine mandate, as the current mayor did for the city of Houston employees during COVID, and asking them what they will do as city council member or mayor to protect bodily autonomy. And the people who answered, Miriam made some great graphics, we publicized it, we put it out there so that people who were looking for that information can have it. Because, you know, it's important to me that the people in Houston who do give a shit about bodily autonomy, who see Agenda 2030, who see technocracy, and there are people, they're in the minority for sure, but the ones who care, I want to make sure that I can give them that information because I'm involved, because I'm active, I'm getting out there. And sure enough, people were emailing me and asking, Derrick, do you have any recommendations? Do you know anybody? You've spent time getting to meet these people. Maybe there's somebody you think I should look at. And I did that. And none of them won. One of them is going to be in a runoff, and she might win. And either way, through that process, I got to understand what other candidates, and really they're just regular people, what other people in Houston understand the same issues that I see. And I think also through my campaign, I know that not only did we help promote and push Prop A and make it a big issue, because the media wasn't really reporting on it at all, and the people who got it on the ballot really kind of dropped the ball and weren't doing any organizing. I know we made it an issue. I know I brought the mayor's office into the race. Like, I was the only candidate talking about that in 2019. I started out talking about it in 2023, and now it got on the ballot in the form of Prop A. It passed. Like, there's so many things that I know wouldn't have happened if I wasn't here in Houston, if I wasn't in the race. And the other thing, to mention, and I've shared most of these videos if you follow me on the video platforms, I've been on the media a dozen times just in 4 months. For a couple of times, it was about interviewing me as a mayoral candidate. So I had 3 or 4 interviews like that. And then I had a few articles written when they were going to kick me off the ballot. And then I've had a few more articles written and a couple of video interviews put out by the local media now that my lawsuit has been filed. So just by being active again and showing up and speaking up, I'm getting media coverage. And this is not the first time. I mean, I've been able to generate media coverage in Houston for 11, 12 years now. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a Solutions Watch episode on, hey, how to generate media coverage. If you're an activist or an organization and you want to know how to do it, it's not that hard. Local media is always looking for stories. You just got to show up, you got to do things. So I might do that. But anyways, so I've come back to Houston. It's November now. Miriam and I knew we were going to stay, like, hey, we're going to stay after the election and stay with friends and family. So I'm here in Houston still for the next month and a half. And I'm planning events while I'm in town. We're going to be doing some community garden stuff. We're going to help some of the people I support who are now going to be in a runoff in a couple of weeks in December, help them hopefully win so that when we try to get fluoride out, we have friends at City Hall. And I'm going to continue to do everything else I'm doing. I've got land. The plan is to grow food, to build my own home, to build, adobe house. The plan is to help other people to use permaculture and share those strategies. And my channel is going to go further in that direction. I had a friend recently comment on Facebook saying something like, I don't understand this strategy, or, it seems like you could be doing your community or the money and this and that. And I just want to make it clear. Me running for mayor did not slow down the Conscious Agora at all. And not that it's really any of your business, but the Conscious Agora team and I, we all talked about this. We knew Miriam and I were going to come here. We had agreed not to do any building this year anyways. We've got things going on in the background that we're working on. The land I haven't given up on my land. I still have the land. The Greater Reset's happening in 2 months in Mexico, January 17th to the 21st. Check it out at thegreaterreset.org. And while I've been here in Houston, I've been able to confront Peter Hotez twice, hopefully a third time very soon, interview RFK. I confronted Tulsi Gabbard back in April while I was here in Texas, obviously not in Mexico. And as I mentioned, getting on the media, filmed Alex Rosen confronting Hillary Clinton. Like, me being here has led to a lot of good, and it hasn't slowed me down at all. I've continued to write my articles while I was running for mayor. I've continued to write episodes of The Pyramid of Power. I've continued to take care of my mental health. Like, none of this stuff, no matter what strategies I take, are ever going to stop or prevent or slow me down from trying to wake people up and promote and focus on solutions. I've continued to make music throughout this, right? You can have some faith in me if you choose to know that no matter what I do, even when you don't understand it, whether that's running for mayor or telling people to vote for this thing or that thing, that I'm doing so because I believe it is a solution. It is going to help advance humanity forward. So no, voting in the Houston elections isn't going to stop the New World Order on its own. It isn't going to stop Agenda 2030. But we did help raise awareness. We did help push back. We now just passed something that has the potential to revolutionize Houston politics on a local level. I mean, truly, if it is used right, and if it works the way we think it's going to, this can change things. And I'm proud and honored to be a part of that. And I'm proud of all the people I worked with on my team, all the people that we met who voted for this and supported it. And yeah, it's been 100% worth my time, my energy. Again, thank you to all of you in my normal audience, the conscious resistance audience, who don't really follow what I do in Houston. Thank you to those of you who donated. Honestly, I got a lot of donations from you guys from all over the world, and that encouraged me. Some of you sent me angry emails saying, F you, Derrick, why are you doing this? Others said very kind things and were very supportive. And no matter what, I hope you will continue to tune in and watch what I'm doing, because this is just the beginning. There's so many more good things coming. I've got a lot of exciting announcements, including some upcoming speaking engagements. And I'm about to drop some brand new interviews as well. So I just want to let you know, if you didn't want to hear about the mayoral race and you're tired of hearing me talk about Houston, it's over for now, and we can get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Until next time, guys, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for letting me rant. Please check out theconsciousresistance.com for those of you who might hear this and aren't familiar with the Conscious Resistance. And if you want to follow my lawsuit and some of what we're going to do in Houston, you can stay tuned to derrickbroze.com. And yeah, we'll leave it there. Remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace, friends.